Hello, I'm Leonardo Puglisi. It's Sunday, the 19th of June. You're watching 6 News. Our top stories tonight. The Bragg by-election draws close with 6 candidates announced to contest the Adelaide seat, with one party that's running a candidate now telling 6 News that they're attempting to make a comeback nationwide following their resurrection in SA last year. Plus, is the United Australia Party about to pick up the final Victorian Senate seat? Results in the federal upper house for Victoria and New South Wales are about to be announced. We'll let you know who's set to claim a seat. And later,
a week away, so it's going to be amazing. You're going to be freaking out.
exclusive, meet the 12-year-olds from the Brisbane North Little League baseball team. They've played for gold and are now heading to the United States. Good evening. We'll get to the results of the Callide by-election in a moment, but first tonight to another by-election, and voters in the Adelaide seat of Bragg are just a couple of weeks away from heading to the polls following the resignation of ex-member and ex-deputy premier Vicki Chapman. 6 candidates for Bragg have been announced. That's 4 more than in the March state election. One of them is Daryl McCann from Family First. 2 decades on from the original Family First being founded, a new resurrected version says they're back, and they're now attempting to run in the Victorian election with a comeback nationwide. Reporting at Holmes has the exclusive details.
The seat of Bragg in South Australia is less than 2 weeks away from heading to the polls for the 3rd time this year in a by-election, following the resignation of Vicki Chapman. 6 candidates have been announced, with 2 more than the March state election. James Hull is one of those running for the Liberal Democrats. He previously spoke to 6 News when running for the state's upper house, but is now trying to get into the lower house.
I think from my maths, although I might be wrong here, I was about 2,000 votes off based on primary votes, and then preferences actually hindered me rather than helped me, put me down into 13th place rather than 12th. I think I'm very proud of the campaign that I ran, and I'm very proud of the brand that we've built during that campaign. In terms of this particular by-election, look, it's a very unique situation in Bragg. It's a lot more of a different sort of demographic than the rest of South Australia. And for people who aren't aware, in South Australia, the upper house is the whole state. It's not districts like it is, say, in Victoria. So it's got to be quite specific and quite targeted to the people of Bragg, which is exactly what's needed there.
Daryl McCann is another candidate running for the Family First Party.
Family First was resurrected, as you put it very nicely, only in July last year. So we never had enough money or organisation to run in the federal election. You might have noticed that. And we were really running out of Adelaide. And the idea was, 47 people running for Parliament, including me for Bragg. And the idea was that I'd get 3%. And that 3% hopefully would convert to 3% for the upper house, the Legislative Council in South Australia. And we get someone into the Legislative Council. We just missed out.
Family First was founded in 2002 and saw some success nationwide, including 3 senators elected. One of them, Bob Day, went on to form the Australian Family Party. Family First was later merged into Australian Conservatives, which was then disbanded in 2019. But in 2021, it's returned.
2 former Labor ministers have dropped a bombshell, announcing they're reviving the defunct brand.
Now they say they're planning a comeback nationwide.
It's already gone from an Adelaide-based party. You'll be interested to know. We've got people now in all around Australia. We're going to run in Victoria, and it's really picking up momentum. So it's one of those great ideas of taking people, as I said, from the Labor right, taking people from the Liberal, Conservative. And so you don't have to be in a party where you're working with people who have a totally different belief system. Yeah, we're going national. The new president of Family First lives in Sydney. There's people joining up in Queensland. They want to go national. And we've had success in politics outside South Australia before.
The Bragg by-election will be held on July 2nd. Lincoln Holmes, 6 News.
And this Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern on Spin Check, we'll be looking in depth at the Bragg by-election with more from James Hole, Darren McCann and possibly some other candidates. That is this Thursday night. Well, speaking of parties attempting to run in Victoria, legalised cannabis has also confirmed to 6 News they're trying to be registered in time for the November election. Party President Michael Balderstone has told Spin Check that he's pleasantly but not totally surprised that the party did as well as it did in the federal election. The party picked up a record Queensland vote and at one stage was an outside chance to defeat Pauline Hanson for the state's 6th Senate seat.
Yet. So there's a push to try to get registered. I think we've only got the next month or two to do that. And at the moment, we've got 700 or 800 members down there, but we need more urgently because not everyone replies or plays it through properly. So anyone can join at legalisedcannabis.org.au, but we hope to run in Victoria.
And of course, the full edition of Spin Check is available on our YouTube channel right now. Well, yesterday, voters in the Queensland state seat of Callide headed to the polls. Former MP Colin Boyce resigned to contest the federal seat of Flynn, a race he won. Since it was created, Callide has always been held by the Country Party, later known as the Nationals, and its successor, the LNP, with the exception of Lindsay Hardwick, who at one point defected from the Nationals to become an independent. Tonight, the results from that by-election are becoming a lot clearer. Political reporter Roman McKinnon has the latest developments.
Good evening, Leo. Tonight we're going to be looking at the Queensland seat of Callide. Callide recently held a by-election. That was yesterday. Now, Callide is a very safe LNP seat. And why this was triggered? Well, let's dive straight into it. Colin Boyce resigned because he wanted to contest a federal seat. We don't normally see this from a state to federal level, but look at this, even more rare. He even won it with the LNP. He served Callide for 2 terms, getting elected in 2017 and then re-elected at the 2020 election. Let's look at the candidates for the Callide decides. Yesterday, Fabrice Yari from the Legalised Cannabis Party, almost 4.8% of the vote. Paula Gillard from the Animal Justice Party, 1.6% of the vote. Adam Burling performed extremely well at the 2020 state election. He got a quarter of the vote, 9.69% for the Catters Australia Party. Sharon Lowe's for One Nation, got to be very happy with this, 14.38%, nearly defeated Bronwyn Dendell from the Australian Labor Party, 19.56% of the vote. And of course, the LNP's Bryson Head, and the LNP, what is happening? Bryson Head from the LNP, nearly able to become the member without preferences, 49.91%. Alright, let's keep going. 2 candidate preferred here, Bryson Head, 72.4%, to Bronwyn Dendell, 27.5%. So yeah, it's fairly safe liberal LNP, LNP, if we can keep going, thank you. Change in vote, 7.3, 6.2 for the 2 majors, 14.4 for One Nation. That was really the standout. They didn't win, of course, but big swings to them there. 1.3 for Catters Australia Party, 4.8 for the Legalised Cannabis Party, 1.6 for the Animal Justice. And swing now, 6.7 to the LNP. Great figures. It'll push them up with an even bigger margin in that Queensland seat. Bryson Head, of course, won the seat, and Bronwyn Dendell not very close there. 6.7 swing to the LNP. Alright, and that is all of my information for that. Of course, I'm political reporter Roman McKinnon, and you can find all of this and more on our website, SIXNewsAU.com.
And in just over 12 hours, we'll be finding out who has officially won the New South Wales and Victorian Senate races. and the United Australia Party may be an unlikely winner. In Victoria, Liberals Sarah Henderson and National Bridget McKenzie have been re-elected. Labor's Linda White was elected to fill the seat of Kim Carr, who has retired. She has won that seat, and Yana Stewart will return after being appointed following the death of Kimberly Kitching. In terms of minor parties, Lydia Thorpe will return for the Greens, but the 6th Senate spot is a little harder to predict. Ralph Babbitt from the UAP has been ahead for quite some time in a close contest with Liberal Greg Mirabella. If elected, he would become the UAP's only representative. In New South Wales, it's looking a bit more certain. Liberals Maurice Payne and Jim Molan, re-elected rather. Deborah O'Neill and Jenny McAllister also re-elected for Labor, while National Ross Cattle and the Greens David Shoebridge have both won based on projections. We'll have full coverage tomorrow morning. New South Wales results at 9:30am local time, Victoria at 10am. Staying in Victoria, big changes are coming for the state as COVID-19 rules ease, and what the state government says is a sensible move. Positive COVID-19 cases must still isolate for 7 days, but they can now leave their home to drive a household member directly to or from education or work without leaving their vehicle. Masks will no longer be mandated at airports, but will still have to be worn on public transport, taxis, ride shares, planes, and in so-called sensitive settings like a hospital. Booster mandates for workers in the education, food distribution, meat and seafood processing and the quarantine accommodation sectors will be scrapped, with authorities saying vaccination policies will be the responsibility of, quote, individual workplaces. The changes come into effect this Friday at 11:59pm local time. Well, today a minute's silence was held during Coburg's clash with Richmond in the VFL to mark Vicki Cleary Day. Vicki Cleary, sister of club legend and former independent MP Phil Cleary, was killed 35 years ago in 1987 by her ex-partner. As reported by Nine, Phil Cleary still speaks to clubs and communities about preventing family violence and respect for women. Of course, you can call 1-800-RESPECT anytime. That is 1-800-737-732. Well, changing pace now, and a Japanese airline has announced it will dump its logo featuring the letter Z, which is a pro-war symbol often seen on Russian military vehicles throughout the invasion of Ukraine. Low-cost carrier Zip Air Tokyo has announced the changes over fears of people misunderstanding. As you can see there, Z is painted on the tail of its planes, but it's also been painted on many Russian tanks. The company says its new logo will be a pattern in green, black and white. Back home, and they may just be 12 years old, but the Brisbane North Little League baseball team have won themselves a ticket to America. The club played for gold earlier this week and are now heading to Pennsylvania. Our very own Roman McKinnon has the story.
They're the young kids with a big moment ahead.
And that is the Australian Little League Championship, with Kyder Wilson making the final catch. Pandemonium here.
The Brisbane North Little League baseball team won gold at the recent national championships. They are now headed to the US to play in the Little League World Series in August.
It felt amazing. Like, we all put 100% work in to get to that spot, and then we just played as hard as we could.
Xavier Honza is the team's catcher, with his hopes set high for Pennsylvania.
It hasn't all settled in right now, but a week away, so it's going to be amazing. You're going to be freaking out.
They'll be treated like kings, free travel and brand new gear, to name a few things.
What's something that you would get first from the selection of Gear Factory?
Probably the Australian catcher's gear.
The Little League World Series will be held in the small town of Williamsport, with 30 teams across America and the world competing.
Australia will be playing Canada for their first game of the Little League World Series on Friday the 18th of August at 7am Eastern Time. If they win that, they go on to play Japan the very next day, 7 o'clock, same time, Eastern Time, and all games will be broadcast on ESPN.
Australia may not be a synonym when speaking of baseball, but coach Keith Land feels confident.
I'm more excited for the boys. I don't think they realise what they're in for. All you can do is go give it your best shot. And if you're better than them, so be it. If they're better than you, tip your hat. All I hope is that the boys just give it their best shot.
Brisbane North will be the second Queensland team to represent Australia at the World Series and Brisbane's first. But for now, training is top of the agenda.
We, even before the Nationals, we were training 2 nights a week and a pretty long day on a Saturday. We'll continue that trend with probably an extra night for conditioning.
Roman McKinnon, 6 News.
Roman McKinnon reporting there. Look, it's got to be nice to be reporting on people around your own age for once. Not often we get to do that, but yeah, good luck to them. We'll follow that closely. Of course, we'll have more on that on our website too, SIXNewsAU.com. And now is Ivan and Melly with a look what's coming up later tonight on WAMN News.
Thanks, Leo. Tonight on WAMN News, In the Dark calls for accountability over ignored complaints to police, government and courts as advocates demand action. Nelson Liu's exclusive report.
Rental prices are set to rise further as property agents call for a permanent affordable rental assistance policy.
COVID is not over. Top doctor urges Western Australians to stay vigilant with mask mandates drops at the airport.
More than 1,000 jobs to go as the McGowan government announced the shutting of Moojay power plant. And later, Dr. Andrew Miller's comment. Join us tonight on the WMN News Facebook page and YouTube channel.
Hi, thanks both Ivan and Melly there. Now to tomorrow's weather forecast right across the country. Brisbane partly cloudy, 11 degrees. Showers in Sydney, 17. Canberra getting to a top of 14. Melbourne, 16 degrees, 14 in Hobart. Chance of rain, 15 in Adelaide. Sunny, 26 in Alice Springs, 20 in Perth. And in Darwin, a warm top of 32. Before we go tonight, recapping our top stories, then the Bragg by-election is drawing closer with 6 candidates announced to contest the Adelaide seat. Family First is running a candidate and they've now told 6 News that they're attempting to make a comeback nationwide following their resurrection in SA last year. And just finally, another reminder, this Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern on Spin Check, we'll be looking at the Bragg by-election with more from James Hole, Darryl McCannon, possibly some other candidates. Definitely a lot to focus on in that state. Again, 2 extra candidates compared to what was running in the March state election, so should provide for some interesting results. Again, that is this Thursday. I'll catch up anytime after that on our YouTube channel. And that is 6 News for this Sunday evening. You can stay up to date with all the latest headlines by heading to our website, SIXNewsAU.com, and by following us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Lit. Just search 6NewsAU to find us. Help keep us independent as well by donating just $4 a month on Patreon and receive exclusive benefits. Patreon.com/6NewsAU. I'm Leonardo Puglisi. Thanks for your company. Good night.